Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 480 based on novel. So let's start. 1 day, 10 days, 100 days. Time flies. Xiao Yan has no idea how long it has passed. The only thing that can be clear is that the soul power in his body is steadily increasing. Above the water surface of the Qianqi lake, Xiao Yang sat quietly cross-legged, surrounded by glazed flames, and surrounded by strange yellow power. Yellow power belongs to chaos. Although Xiao Yang doesn't know why there is the most mysterious power in the vast world in Yarokai Qianqi, these chaotic factors are too weak, and Xiao Yang can't learn to accept it for his own use. However, although this is quite regrettable, I am afraid that no one can touch the spiritual palace under the protection of chaos power. Even some strong people who use soul power to attack the enemy, in the face of chaos power, those attacks are useless. Xiao Yang's body was reflected on the surface of the Qianqi lake, but at this time, Xiao Yang's body was nearly transparent. Obviously, he wanted to break through from the late stage of Hua Yuan to half-step spiritual travel, and there were some tedious things. The power of the soul in the body was surging, and it didn't take long for it to calm down. Xiao Yang opened his eyes slightly, and a dazzling light burst out from his body, converging towards the top of Qianqi. The terrifying fluctuations of the sky and the earth swept out like a space storm that destroyed everything. In an instant, the sky of Qianqi, which was originally windy and sunny, was densely clouded by dark clouds at the top. Among the dark clouds, thunder was scattered all over, and countless extremely fierce thunders began to dance. God Ascension Boundary. Do you still want to transcend tribulation? Xiao Yang scratched his head with some doubts, and immediately raised his head with bright eyes. The space storm brewing at the top of the void came together with the thundercloud, and the fluctuations in it seemed to be aimed only at the power of the soul. Whether it is the immortal ascension boundary or the reincarnation rank, they are all at the peak of this world. In order to maintain order, heaven and earth will naturally drop the power of thunder and punishment. Boom! The space storm intensified, and with the dark clouds covered, a pitch-black thunder snake crawls into the sky, staring at Xiao Yang with fierce eyes, and a burst of sighs emerged from his heart. Soul attack. Xiao Yang's body slowly rose with countless mysterious fluctuations, the spiritual palace surged, and the vast soul power waved like an ocean. Bring it on. Clenching his fists, he was blessed with glass-colored flames and soul power all over his body, his entire body vacated, and blasted away at the thunder snake that was ready to go above the sky. Breakthrough. Thunder snake swallowed the snake letter, and his eyes were full of indifference and contempt, and then he twisted his huge body, driving bursts of suffocating space storms and thunder arcs, as if death came and swung down. Crack. But a strange scene appeared in the next moment. Just as the thunder snake went down with its upward posture, the tops of the 16 peaks suddenly began to embellish with bursts of yellow waves. At the same time, 16 rays of light flashed across the world, and they scattered and gathered from the 16 peaks. It turned out that a mysterious yellow formation was formed above Qianqi. Phut! The yellow formation was brilliant, like a real god's mansion, and the thunderclouds and space storms above the sky were dissipated at will. After dealing with this scene, the entire Qianqi is now quiet, but in the cave behind the main peak waterfall, there seems to be some breath slowly awakening. Whoa! Xiao Yang looked at the scene in front of him and couldn't help being a little stunned. Obviously, the so-called Yarokai Qianqi was too heavily defended. If it wasn't for Yaoling's help, I'm afraid he really wouldn't be able to enter here. The invisible soul power began to ripple. Although the 7th floor spiritual palace was only filled, it was enough for Xiao Yang. The soul power of the half-step immortal ascension boundary has been able to refract most of the Taishu heaven in his mind. The immortal ascension boundary is really extraordinary. If I'm working with some soul fighting skills, now I can only rely on my soul power to be invincible in the battle against the real triple reincarnation rank powerhouse. Xiao Yang looked at the 16 peaks with a little joy, but he was in awe. If Xiao Yang's soul power in the late Yuan dynasty could make Xiao Yang almost invincible at the same level, then the soul power of the immortal ascension boundary once again made Xiao Yang qualified for cross-level battles. The difference between the two seems to be weak, but the difference is huge. If that's the case, it's time to go. Xiao Yang bowed his head slightly, and immediately had a whim. The majestic soul power spread out like a tide, reflecting the entire Qianqi, and even the entire Jade Lake Fairyland in his mind. Just the entire Yarokai Wonderland seems to be not enough for Xiao Yang's soul power to spread, and the soul power is like an endless abyss, constantly flying. Along the way, I vaguely felt a faint aura in the Yarokai Fairyland, that kind of aura that even the elders of the fire elves did not have. I think she is also the strongest in the Yarokai fairyland, the Lady of Yarokai. The wandering of the soul still did not stop, slowly heading towards the space outside the Jade Pond, Penglai Wonderland. Taishushan could barely spread. Crack. Just when Xiao Yang marveled at the vastness of the 3 days in the center of the fairy world, a dark energy was hidden somewhere in the fairy world, and the strong burning and stinging sensation made Xiao Yang feel the power of the soul shook slightly. What kind of power is this? Xiao Yang immediately sat cross-legged in the void, closed his eyes and immersed himself, mobilizing his huge soul power, quietly submerged into that dark crack, and poured into that unknown world. This is the fairyland, which is praised as a fairyland-like existence by the world. Why is there such a strange and cunning evil atmosphere? After pouring into the dark cracks, one could see a distorted and illusory memory space. There was a white light opening in it. Next to the light opening were the 10 ghosts that Xiao Yang and others had learned from the space channel before. Coffin. It's just that the mouth of light seems to be connected to some extremely mysterious world, and the 10 eerie coffins also form an extremely evil and complex formation, as if suppressing and imprisoning the mouth of light. It turns out that these 10 evil coffins are actually used to seal the entrance to the center of the fairy world. If the immortal world center is sealed, then wouldn't it be possible to live under the protection of the immortal world center for the last 3 days? After the rest based on Xiao Yang's perception and experience, it was extremely easy to infer the scene in front of him. A horrific horror filled Xiao Yang's heart. The consequences were unimaginable. There are enemies. Before Xiao Yang could do anything, a vast surge of energy in the dark void unexpectedly hit Xiao Yang's soul light group. Xiao Yang's soul light group shrank violently, and then became vigilant. Looking around. The soul power of the immortal world. I don't know which almighty in the immortal world. Our Lady of Yarokai? Master of the Moon God Palace? Master of Huashan Palace? A gloomy voice sounded, and immediately in this void, countless black shadows of crows fled around. That kind of breath is extremely evil, but Xiao Yang is not unfamiliar, because the breath of the source of this voice is actually the opposite of the demon of light that he met in the ghost world in the past. The sudden gloomy voice and the vast soul attack made Xiao Yang's soul power spread to the void and distorted instantly. The soul power was violently bombarded by some evil monsters, and a heavy dizziness struck, causing Xiao Yang's diffused soul to violently rippling. Who is it? Who is actually coveting the center of the fairy world? The soul force struggled to resist the strange power, and immediately became a little weak, trying to escape against the void crack. The immortal realm center is the pinnacle of the entire immortal realm. Xiao Yang believes that there are many powerhouses of the 5th reincarnation rank, and even the 6th reincarnation rank. These evil forces are actually suppressing and sealing the entrance to the immortal world center. What is their purpose? Xiao Yang's reaction speed was extremely fast, but even with his current soul power, when facing the enemy who attacked him, there was still a sense of powerlessness that came out. It seemed that under that evil power, his own power was like an ant. Small. But even so, with Xiao Yang's keen sense of smell, he still sensed something else from it. The black shadow that attacked himself, although its soul power has not yet stepped into the immortal ascension realm, it is also a genuine late stage of Yuanyuan realm, and that aura is really familiar to Xiao Yang. In front of the 10 gloomy coffins used to seal the entrance to the immortal world and the group of strange figures, there is an extraordinarily strong atmosphere of foreign evil races. Although it is impossible to determine their identities, there are probably only 2 kinds of things that can make Xiao Yang feel so difficult. Among the foreign evil races, the Red King rank, or the Few Evil God rank. Let Xiao Yang's soul power in the half-step immortal ascension boundary now, under the attack of that strange power, quickly retreat in just a few breaths, and I am afraid that it will be completely broken in the near future. Run. After passing the breath, the investigation was fruitless. Xiao Yang did not turn his head and fled towards the crack in the void. Want to sabotage the deity's plan? It's not that easy. Evil God Seal, Curse of Darkness. Just as Xiao Yang's soul power was rapidly retreating, the mysterious shadow roared, and a dark and complicated crow suddenly flew away quietly within the shadow, and was directly branded into Xiao Yang's escaped soul power. Now, let's see how you reveal the secret, hurry up. After doing all this, Hei Ying sneered just now, cooperated with 10 gloomy coffins, and released an incomparable evil force to seal the faint light mouth in front of him. As for what is going on inside the center of the fairy world, why no one has discovered it, it is unknown. After a long time, it was quiet here again. On the other side, Xiao Yang suddenly let out a breath of turbid air, and sat cross-legged in the void of Tianqi, gasping for breath. The strength of that guy just now is definitely not something he can handle. The confinement between heaven and earth was suddenly touched slightly, but with the protection of Jade Lake Tianqi, after resting, it became calm, but Xiao Yang's heart was still trembling, and even his soul power was pushed fiercely. Cold sweat and fear were not affected. Control emerges. Curse of darkness, what is that? It seems that you must leave here as soon as possible and tell, to the people of the Fairyland. Xiao Yang looked inside the body, only to find that there was a crow entrenched in the spiritual palace. No matter whether Xiao Yang used the power of holy flame or other powers, he could not but destroy and expel, which was very strange. Tell, to the people of the Fairyland. After a while, when Xiao Yang came back to his senses, he found that he couldn't mention those obscure words at all. It seems that this so-called curse of darkness does not have any substantial lethality, because its purpose is only to limit Xiao Yang's exposure. Now Xiao Yang seems to have been issued a password ban, and he can't touch any words related to those news at all. Even if it is speculation and mentioning, it will not work. Who are you? Why did you break into the forbidden area of Yarokai Wonderland? Tell me where you came from, or else. Just when Xiao Yang was puzzled by the curse of darkness, behind the main peak waterfall, a graceful figure appeared eerily, and a jade sword constructed of moonstone pointed directly at Xiao Yang. The woman is dressed in a white dress, and in the skirt is a very enchanting bright moon, and the 3,000 blue silks are swaying at will, which is quite attractive. However, there is a delicate ribbon hanging from the eyes of this woman. The ribbon gently covers her eyes, and her eyes are full of white light, like blindness. Discovered. Xiao Yang's face was ashen. It was too late to think about the curse of darkness, so he could only focus on the woman in front of him. The aura on this woman's body is extremely strange, but it is mostly a moon-like pattern, and although it is weak, this woman does have an aura that makes Xiao Yang somewhat familiar, but Xiao Yang is thinking about the curse of darkness. And did not take it to heart. Although the woman Qianying in front of her was only the strength of the first reincarnation rank, she could feel a lot of pressure with her current second reincarnation rank, and even though the eyes covered by the ribbon were blind, it made Xiao Yang feel that it was unnecessary. Tyrannical pressure. People from Moon God Palace? Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes, and bursts of glass-colored flames began to rise around his body. In the entire Tianqi, because Xiao Yang began to activate the power of the source of the holy flame, and because of the scorching temperature, a trace of hot air permeated from the void of heaven and earth, and it turned out that this piece of Tianqi, which is like a fairyland on earth, evaporated a little distorted. Illusory. A powerhouse with fire attributes. Wait for me to arrest you and send you to Yarokai Wonderland to apologize. Secretly breaking into the forbidden area of Yarokai Wonderland is a capital crime. The woman fluctuated the blue silk draped on her forehead at will, and turned around slowly, a trance-looking Xeon rune between her eyebrows, slowly shining with some ancient aura. No way. Did you make a mistake? You actually use the divine weapon as soon as you start it. When looking at the jade sword with the moon pattern between Qianying's eyebrows quietly falling on the arm in the body has been quiet, but the ruler of the gods is slightly restless, and an irritable emotion is transmitted, and all of a sudden Xiao Yang also knew that the combination of the moon pattern and the jade sword was a divine weapon. Jukai seems to be roaring. As the second highest ranked artifact in the human world, majesty is not easy for such a low-ranked artifact to threaten to question. Under the moon, duel. The woman pointed at Xiao Yang's place with the foot moon sword in her hand, and suddenly the galaxy fell. The bright moon hangs in the sky, and the ground is illusory like a mirror reflecting the angel's bright moon, and even the strange moon scatters a trace of breath, slowly pouring into the body of the woman holding the fairy sword in front of him. The breath of this guy is skyrocketing. In a short period of time, he was on an equal footing with Xiao Yang. At this moment, Xiao Yang's eyes showed a heavy look just now. In the past, I used to fight over the steps myself, but this time I was provoked by the guys from Moon God Palace. This guy seems to have some familiar aura. Is it an illusion? After performing the duel under the moon, the woman did not attack rashly, but stood on the ground with peace of mind, quietly feeling the blessing of the moonlight power above the sky. In his own reincarnation domain, with the blessing of both the power of moonlight and the divine weapon, he is already close to an invincible situation. Just ask this guy in front of him, even if he is fighting against him with the strength of the double reincarnation, there is only one way to fail. This is also the reason why the woman used the divine weapon in the first place. For her, who only has the first reincarnation rank, the double reincarnation rank should not be underestimated. Moon God Palace and Yarokai Fairyland were originally friends, and the two had a good relationship. Now she borrowed Tianqi to solve some hidden diseases in her body. Naturally, She couldn't tolerate Xiao Yang's petty behavior in front of her. Can't I run away? After thinking about it, Xiao Yang could only smack his lips to find the stone that Yaroling gave him. If you can't fight, why don't you run? It's not that Xiao Yang is afraid of this girl, but now that the curse of darkness is very involved, Xiao Yang doesn't want to waste time here. In addition, because this is Yarokai Tianqi, although I rely on Yaroling to enter here, but I am essentially no different from breaking through. If this disturbs the powerhouse of Yarokai Fairyland, I am afraid that even if I jump into the Tianhe, I will not be able to wash it clear. On the other hand, Yaroling helped him so much, and Xiao Yang didn't want to make trouble for this guy. Quietly squeezed, the stone did not respond, as if in the deep moon duel in the reincarnation domain, these means of crossing the void temporarily lost their effect. Don't waste your efforts. In my reincarnation domain, unless you defeat me head-on, you won't have any chance to escape. Because my reincarnation domain was bestowed by the moon god. The woman sneered. Even if she was blind, she seemed to rely on her breath and other abilities to accurately capture Xiao Yang's position and trajectory. Go. Hearing this, Xiao Yang sneered in disbelief, and immediately moved his body, flashing like a meteor in the realm under the moon. In the next instant, the mysterious woman held a divine sword, flashing with blue moonlight. Under the increasing illumination of the moonlight, she fiercely slaughtered Xiao Yang. This guy has lost both eyes. Why can he accurately determine my position? Xiao Yang didn't attack rashly, but kept avoiding the latter's attack, and his heart couldn't help but become solemn. In my heart, I thought to get out of here as soon as possible and solve the curse of darkness, otherwise the blatant actions of the foreign evil clan are enough to prove that this time, they must have a big move in the Fairyland. Soul. Yu Mingtian is stunned. Seeing the mysterious woman chasing after her and not giving Xiao Yang any chance to argue, Xiao Yang did not want to be polite to her. Almost 7 layers of spiritual palaces surged in the body at the same time, and suddenly turned into a crisp cry in this realm under the moon. The roar of the soul turned into countless invisible tides that spread, but when it hit the mysterious woman's body, the divine sword hummed, and even a whole body of blue moonlight exploded, cracking Xiao Yang's soul attack. An extremely large moon-patterned star map slowly rose from behind the woman, and an ancient, awe-inspiring wave emerged from it. Obviously, this method is probably left by some ancient characters on this woman, which is really terrifying. The power of soul fighting skills is low, but with my current soul power, it shouldn't be like this. And the treasures on this mysterious woman seem to be too many. Seeing that the soul attack failed, Xiao Yang complained while dodging. It seems that the mysterious woman in the moon god palace in front of her is even more terrifying than Fairy Yarokai in terms of her fighting strength and her background. The increase in the moonlight and moon is already shocking, and the magical weapon related to the moon is very powerful. In addition, there is a very complicated moon pattern on his body for protection. Unless Xiao Yang uses the killing ruler, it will be a short time. It is difficult to break through the many defenses of this guy. But if you use the ruler of the gods, too much movement will inevitably attract the powerhouses of the Yarokai Fairyland. At that time, it will be difficult to recover, and it will become a dilemma for a while, and you can only passively be beaten. The power of the artifact, the moon butterfly arc shadow, the sky was full of moonlight, and the woman's face was slightly cold, her palm tightly holding the divine weapon, and the fluctuation of the moonlight directly transformed into a huge blue fairy butterfly, crawling beside her. The azure fairy butterfly just emerged, and there are sturdy features all over its body. Between the flapping of its wings, there is a mysterious repressive force that invades, which makes people feel uneasy. Hateful. 5 colors. Buddha's wrath is reincarnated. Xiao Yang was also helpless, and immediately his body was shaken. 5 flames of different colors in his body began to rise, and they began to merge skillfully. The void trembled slightly, and an extremely terrifying wave fell down Xiao Yang's body. Xiao Yang looked at the giant blue butterfly quietly dormant beside the woman with a solemn expression. Why is this method familiar? Although she was unable to check the scene in front of her, but with some special skills, the mysterious woman could still clearly perceive Xiao Yang's actions, and immediately exclaimed. Seeing the mysterious woman who suddenly became quiet for a while, Xiao Yang was also shocked and puzzled. It's not that Xiao Yang didn't guess that the woman in front of him was Yu, mainly because of the guy's body shape and even his appearance, etc., which were completely different from him. Tear it off. You go. Without the slightest pause, the divine sword gently swayed, and it actually tore a gap in the realm under the moon. Immediately, the mysterious woman shook her head slightly, with a serious expression. Farewell. Xiao Yang was extremely shocked, but after checking, he found that there were no traps. After extinguishing the Buddha's wrath, samsara lotus seeds, he quietly exited the realm under the moon. Just exited the realm under the moon, hurriedly cast Tianxia to summon Yaoling, and carried himself towards the location of the Alchemy Pill Club. Xiao Yang. He actually came to the Fairyland. It's all to blame for the ***** inheritance of the moon god. I've changed so much. It was not until Xiao Yang's body quietly left, the void in the Tianqi trembled slightly, and the mysterious woman who had just fought with Xiao Yang inextricably just appeared. The jade feet stepped on the surface of the Tianqi lake, and a trace of pure power was sent into the body, which seemed to relieve the moon pattern star map on the artifact itself, but at this time, the woman's pretty face was flushed, and the corners of her mouth murmured, looking like very weird. There is an obvious warmth in the voice, and there is even a trace of strange fluctuations. That kind of fluctuation seems to like it, and it is like a young girl who is about to get married, and sees the joyful meaning of Rui Langjun secretly. For Xiao Yang, this Tianqi group was a little too inexplicable, but fortunately the result was good. Taishushan, in a quiet courtyard in Zixi City. Tomorrow, the city lord of Zixi City will tear apart the void, and take the pharmacists who live in Zixi City and those who are cooperating with the observers to go to the alchemy temple to participate in the most grand alchemy meeting in the immortal world, but, as of now, brother Xiao Yang still has no news at all. What is going on in this Yarokai wonderland? In the hall, Xiao Yi and Princess Chen Qin sat aside, but Zana's eyes were particularly worried, and there was even a hint of anger in her voice. It was only about 5 days after Xiao Yang left, but no matter what contact method Zana used, he was still unable to communicate with Xiao Yang, which made Zana, who was always quiet, a little impatient. Now that the time for the opening of the alchemy pill meeting is imminent, the three of them had to sit together and think of other ways. The purpose of their trip is to make medicine pills. If the time is delayed because of the Yarokai Fairyland, I am afraid that this trip will only be a waste. With the nature of Yarokai Wonderland, it shouldn't do anything bad. After thinking about it, Princess Chen Qin didn't know the reason. Just as the three of them looked solemn and were about to use some tough means to cross the Jade Pond Wonderland, the void in the hall quietly became illusory and twisted, and it seemed that some powerful aura came from far away. Who? The three of them stood up in an instant, their eyes dignified, and the continuous power of reincarnation began to roll, and their eyes were fixed on the strange void in the hall. The power of the three together, even some quasi-triple reincarnation levels, I am afraid that they will not be able to discuss any benefits. Hey. After the rest, Xiao Yang's figure stepped out of the void, but behind him, there was a beautiful and colorful figure. Fairy Yarokai? When Zana saw Xiao Yang just now, she was shocked and her face softened instantly. But she turned to look at the beautiful figure behind Xiao Yang, her brows furrowed again, as if she felt a dangerous aura. Fairy Yaoch's aura will never lose her own, and there is even a faint aura in her body, which looks like she is competing with Zana. Since the person has already brought it, then I will also go back. Farewell. Fairy Yarokai didn't stay too long, because she could clearly sense Zana's hostility. Well, thank you for your hard work. Xiao Yang clasped his fists towards Fairy Yarokai and thanked him. Without the help of this fellow, I am afraid that he would not be able to catch up with the alchemy pill meeting. Fairy Yarokai shook the void and left here easily. The trip to the Fairyland of Yarokai is to solve the hidden disease in Fairy Yarokai. She forcibly devoured the 26th pure spirit immortal flame on the holy flame list. Xiao Yang turned his head to look at Zana, who had a grudge on his face, and hurriedly explained. If it is not explained in time, I am afraid that my vinegar jar will be overturned, and the consequences will be disastrous. Humph. When Zana heard this, her face became slightly hot, and she thought that this guy went to the Jade Lake Wonderland to provoke flowers. Yarokai really deserves to be the tyrannical force in the last 3 days, and it is really surprising that it has the inheritance of the holy flame. But the aura in Xiao Yu's main body seems a little scary. Princess Chen Qin stared at Xiao Yang with beautiful eyes, and her eyes fell on Xiao Yang. When Xiao Yang didn't go to Yarokai Fairyland, the gap between him and Xiao Yang was still weak, but now, the faint breath of Xiao Yang's body made Princess Chen Qin's face tremble slightly. It's just half a step. Hearing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but let out a wry smile. Thinking of this trip to Yarokai Fairyland, it was really a surprise. As for the curse of darkness, Xiao Yang did not have any solution. Obviously, this is also the problem that the evil shadow has considered, and I am afraid he can only go with the flow. What? Second brother, are you half a step into the immortal ascension boundary? When Xiao Yi heard the words, her eyes narrowed slightly, she couldn't help but gasped and exclaimed. The sole power of the immortal ascension boundary, in the entire Great Thousand World, there are few who can achieve it. More importantly, the immortal ascension boundary is the key to refining the Holorank 9th grade medicine pill. By the way, when will the alchemy pill start? Xiao Yan glanced around, and immediately asked. Tomorrow, it will officially start. Zuna nodded. This important information had already been collected when Xiao Yan left. What a hurry. It seems that there is no time to worry about that curse. Xiao Yang was slightly startled, and then slightly regretted. Even if Xiao Yang can solve the curse of darkness by all means, such as killing the god, I am afraid that the ending will not be solved. Just ask a human who does not belong to the 3-day immortal world, and forcibly ran to say the last sentence to many of the most powerful people in the immortal world. The immortal world is being attacked by foreign evil races. In that case, what's the difference from a heretic who spread rumors and caused trouble? Brother Xiao Yang, are you alright? Seeing Xiao Yang's repeated expressions, Zuna stepped forward slightly and asked with a stern face. Zuna and Xiao Yang had no guesses, and could obviously detect some subtle fluctuations in Xiao Yang's body. No. Xiao Yang shook his head. The curse of darkness was indeed a heart disease. Do not talk. Zuna suddenly became stern, cast a vicious glance at Xiao Yang, and pulled Xiao Yang's large palm with his palm. The holy flame aura scattered from the eyebrows and went to examine Xiao Yang's body. After some inspection, the color did not find any strangeness. I'll say no problem. If there is an attack-type fighting scroll about soul power, remember to pay attention to it for me. Okay. Seeing this girl's serious expression, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing. By the way, what are the specific rules for this time at the alchemy pill meeting? After instructing him, Xiao Yang asked. After all, he was still quite puzzled by the news. The 3-day medicine refining pill meeting in the immortal realm is the only grand event in the entire Great Thousand World. It can be said unceremoniously that apart from the strongest alchemy force in the human world, Wandan realm, this level of alchemy pill meeting is the biggest event in the entire Great Thousand World. However, due to the 7 realms, there are almost no alchemists like the Ghost Realm and the Devil Realm, so most of the human realm and the fairy realm are involved. The alchemy pill will test the pharmacist's refining skills, control flames, soul power, and even actual combat. It is said that this time the champion can qualify for the Elder Seat in the Medicine Temple. The Elder Seat of the Alchemy Pill Society? Xiao Yang was a little puzzled. There are only 2 elders in the Alchemy Hall, and they are all pharmacists at the 9th rank holy rank, so I am afraid that the promotion to the 9th rank has something to do with this so-called Elder Seat. Princess Chen Qin explained. It seems that this time the medicine pill meeting has become interesting. Xiao Yang rubbed his fists and looked through the endless void, looking at the void in the distance. This time, with the sole power of his half-step immortal ascension boundary, can he hit the pinnacle of the Great Thousand World? Saint rank 9th rank alchemist, this has already stood at the peak of this world. As for the so-called 10th grade of the god level, according to the records of the Great Thousand World, no one can refine it, and I am afraid that it has also become a heart disease in the hearts of countless refining pharmacists. The next day, when the soft sunset slowly rose from the horizon, the entire Zishi city seemed very noisy and lively. For nothing else, just because today is the day when the alchemy pill meeting held by the top forces in the entire Taishushan begins. The alchemist contest held by the Alchemy Sanctuary is quite famous even in the great world. The alchemists who can participate in the competition are all outstanding in their respective fields, especially the talent competition that blooms like 100 flowers. It is also very eye-catching. At this point, the countless heroes who have been waiting quietly in the cities of Taishu Tian have long been ready to go, trying to shine in the competition. In addition to the arrival of some sect elders in the Great Thousand Worlds, the entire Taishushan seems to be unprecedentedly lively. The alchemist competition is not only the best stage for the well-known pharmacists in the world to communicate and learn, but also a crazy event for countless power positions in the world. They came to watch the game only for one of the purposes. Once they can poach some alchemists from the game and use them, it can be said to be extremely useful for these superpowers. With high-level pharmacists in charge, the power will grow at an extremely terrifying rate. The sun began to fall, and all over the streets of Zixakan, one after another silhouettes began to walk. Among them, there were some figures in robes of refining pharmacists. These guys looked quite confident, and there was a sense of pride in their words and deeds. However, the entire street was slightly surrounded by well-trained soldiers, paving a red carpet dedicated to the central square of the city. To be able to walk on the red carpet gracefully and calmly, only alchemists are required, and the minimum rank is 6th rank and above. This is also the rule of the alchemy temple since ancient times. After all, alchemists below 6th rank are talented, but in such a top-notch contest, it seems to be a lot inferior. The figures walking on the 2 lanes along the way looked at the alchemist on the red carpet in the center, with some admiration and envy in their eyes. The noble and rare profession of refining medicine, no matter where it is in the world, will be treated with respect. After all, this rare profession that uses the power of mortals to refine magical medicine is amazing. Moreover, the value of a high-level pharmacist is even far more than that of a reincarnation-level powerhouse. After all, the former is a large-scale auxiliary production of medicinal pills, while the latter is just an offering. It is clear at a glance which is stronger and weaker. Let's go. Xiao Yan slowly pushed open the door, adjusted the aura in his body to the peak, and together with the 3 of them left the residence and walked towards the center of the city square. As expected, it is the most grand event in the Fairyland. In the past, there were many rare pharmacists in the past, but this time they appeared on an overwhelming scale, and the number of alchemists living in a city in Zishi City is so terrifying, and there are not a few high-level alchemists. Princess Qianqin nodded slightly, and with her strength, she glanced around lightly, and naturally it was not difficult to find many proud figures in this city. Brother Xiao Yang, your position is over there. Go. Zuna quietly pushed Xiao Yang. She naturally knew that the red carpet was the real battlefield for Xiao Yang, and the 3 of them still had some things to deal with. Princess Qianqin got some secrets from the Great Elders Fairyland. While speaking, Xiao Yang quietly left the 3 of them, and walked alone on the red carpet, towards the center of the square. Is that the Lord of Endless Fire Domain? It is said that this guy is not only tyrannical and outrageous in combat, but also has extraordinary refining skills. This time he actually came to the Refining Pill Club. I am afraid there is a good show to watch. Hey, I don't think so. This time, in the Ghost Realm, in the Demon Realm, and even in the Realm, there are some uniquely gifted and talented pharmacists. In addition to the Avildor in the original Alchemy Temple in the Fairy Realm, I am afraid that is the real fight between dragons and tigers. Hey, let's wait and see, but I don't know if this kind of alchemist with a high heart will be invited by some superpowers. In the crowd, 3 words and a few words kept muttering. I am Zishi, the Lord of Zishi City. The strong people who participated in the alchemy pill meeting in Zishi City this time and the strong people who accompanied me, please accompany me to the holy world of alchemy. Everyone, please. A middle-aged man with an immortal style swept into the sky, and his majestic voice shook the minds of no one present. Then trouble the city lord. Many pharmacists immediately clasped their fists and smiled, and their eyes moved slightly. The crack in the void began to be illusory, and countless figures flew into it, heading towards the destination. The location of this alchemist competition is located in the inner realm of Taishu. It is not only blessed by nature, but also has an extremely rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even because of the existence of the base camp of the alchemy temple, there are countless medicinal materials growing everywhere in the entire mountain range. It's not an exaggeration to call it a pharmacist's dream. Xiao Yang and the others were guided by the void, and when Du appeared, they swept into a huge mountain. Seems to be separated from the others. Xiao Yang frowned and glanced away, seeing that he was surrounded by figures in alchemist robes, and there was no other figure at all. How is this going? After a while, there were also many pharmacists who noticed a strange scene, and immediately asked with a stunned expression. Unfortunately, for these questions, no one can answer them, and it seems that there is only endless silence waiting for them. It's all a group of alchemists. Has the assessment started? Xiao Yang squinted his eyes and began to slowly walk out of the cave entrance in the mountains, but he saw a vast and desolate land. The lush virgin forest revealed extremely dangerous fluctuations, and from time to time the voices of some wild beasts roared out. Mind-blowing. Everyone. This is the first level of the alchemist assessment. As a result, the number of people in this alchemist competition is unprecedented, so before many cities in Taishushan enter Taishushan to participate in the pharmacist competition, Wei set up this test for everyone. As for the purpose of the test, I believe that the ingenuity of many alchemists will definitely not stump you. I'll be waiting for you at the finish line. The voice of the Zishi city lord's half-smile but not a laugh quietly disappeared. That sly old fellow. One after another cursing voices sounded, but most of the cursing were some lower-level alchemists. Among the nearly 100 people, there are only 10 people of the 7th rank. As for the 8th rank, judging from Xiao Yang's perception, it seems that there are none. Forget it, let's take a look at this virgin forest first. Since this is an assessment, it will definitely not be an unsolved situation. However, this self-taught assessment method, I have to say, is really novel. Just after Xiao Yan finished speaking, his body burst out like a ghost, and he left the large army and left the place where some soul power sent out strange fluctuations. This video will end here.